it's not clear, or you would like to ask again or give an example, something like that. So it will be really helpful in that regard. So we'll just wait for a couple of minutes before we get started.
Right. So we're live on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, got
You're ready
one
live?
more. Yeah, we're live on YouTube. I just have one other thing to do.
No. Sounds good. I think we can
Okay.
get started and then you can jump right in.
Okay, I think we're good now.
Good. So I think let's keep it, Michael, more conversational style. And
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and mute everyone.
yeah.
But if you have something that you want to say, feel free to open your mic. You can even come on camera if you like, but we're just going to mute everyone for now. Okay, except for you and I, Farrukh. So
Yeah, I just unmuted myself back.
okay.
Good. So we'll get started now. And as you would have seen in the email, Mirella talked about a very interesting thing last Saturday, and we had a slight discussion about it. But I did not want to get into a lot of detail because obviously we have limited time during the virtual speech masters. And I was meeting with Michael 2, 3 days back, and we thought about let's address this and let's talk about it more in detail in a webinar, so that a webinar or a meeting, a conversation, whatever you call it, so that you guys can also jump in and start to talk about any situations that you're facing, something that you're not clear about, so forth and so on. So, Michael, let's start with the belief system where many people start to feel that it's not working for me. Either something wrong with me, either something wrong in what I'm doing, or either something wrong with the system. It's not working for me. And when you start to believe the fact that it's not going to work on me, with me, how does that impact your ability to improve as a speaker if you're working on the system?
Yeah, good question. This can be applied to many, many different things. I mean, lots and lots of different things that we do. And so one of my clients who was attending your session a week ago, we talked about this and he asked me about it. And obviously I've had many, many clients, well, thousands and thousands. I mean, I don't want to say tens, but probably tens of thousands of people who've struggled with the same thing. In many cases, there have been things that I've been doing in my own life that required a change in my belief system, a change in my habits, and I would start to believe, okay, this isn't really working, right? Excuse me. And so it's happened to me. It's happened to many of my clients. And when we talk about beliefs, there's something that we have talked about called the placebo effect. Many of you've heard about it. We've actually done some things on it. And it really comes down to our belief that something, normally when we talk about the placebo effect, it's our belief that something is going to work, like a medicine that turns out not really to be a medicine. It's a placebo, so it's a fake or false medicine, and we believe that it's going to work. And what happens to us neurologically, right, but also psychologically, emotionally, is our body actually gears up and starts to do things to make that belief true. So we can physiologically, physically, neurologically see changes just because we believe something is working or that it's going to work. And you're studying this also, Farrukh. So, and this is a fact now. It doesn't happen with everything all the time, but it happens enough that we can say scientifically that there is something called a placebo effect, and that our beliefs can have an impact on physical, neurological changes in our body. Physiological, neurological, emotional, mental changes in our body, like real changes. But the opposite can also be true. That if you start believing something and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, and we'll talk about many of the reasons, that it's not working or that it stopped working, you can reverse that effect and actually see physical changes, emotional, mental, neurological changes. Oh, okay, it's not working now. This is failing to work. So it's a real effect. Our beliefs are very, very powerful. Our beliefs, and there's kind of a subset that we're going to talk about in a minute, but if you have something to say about what I just said, I'll let you do that. But we're also going to talk about a big one that I talked with my other clients just this week about. In fact, there's two main things. One is expectations. Let's say expectations and perspective, and then experience. So expectations, perspective, and experience are all things that have a huge effect on whether or not something keeps working, or if it seems like it's not working, and then you change your expectations, it can start working again. All three of those things we're going to go into in some degree of detail today.
Well, Michael, thank you for the great start. I was just writing experiences as you said it, so that's good. So let's start with experiences, for example. Many people inside the system, it can be inside the Pro90D speech system or any other speech system or any other thing in life that you're working on. People often don't see the amount of progress that they are making because their brain, one, is focused a lot on what's not working, and second, where they want to reach, which is also quite related with the first one. What you want is a very good thing to focus on. What you want is a very good thing to think about. We talk about shifting your focus from what you don't want, stuttering, stammering, blocking, stuff like that. We don't use those words towards what you want. You want to become a smoother speaker. You want to be this. You want to be that. But in order to focus on what you want, you don't just keep focusing on the end goal that you want to achieve. Because if you keep focusing on the end goal and just realizing this will start to manipulate your beliefs that Michael was just speaking about. If you keep your focus towards the end goal, okay, this is how I want to become as a speaker, really good. But if you keep focusing on that and if you keep comparing your speech to that, you will always feel like a failure, right? Even if you're 99.99% there, even if there is a 5 minute conversation and you feel like I want to nail the whole 5 minutes, that is absolutely possible to do. You don't realize that you have reached from 0 to 4.5 minutes, but you're still thinking that I'm not doing 5 minutes, I'm just doing, well, 4.5 minutes. So I'm still not there. Technically, yes, you're still not there. So if you focus more on that, the more you focus on that, the more you will feel like it's not working, I'm not there. And then the way it starts to impact your speech, then you feel like it's not working, you feel less motivated, you work even less on your speech, and then obviously it does not work. You do not experience the successes. Then it reaffirms your belief that it's not working. And then the same cycle repeats once again. Then you feel like it's not working. You feel even less motivated. You work even less on your speech. Then you start getting stuck more, or you start to not speak as well as you wanted to. And then that becomes a cycle. It's really important to not let yourself get into that cycle. And the way that you can avoid being in that cycle. We'll talk about expectations as well. But a lot of experiences that we are talking about is to constantly see how much you have improved. See it. You might have improved, you might not have improved, but try to see it from the time that you started to work on your speech, or try to see, have you generally improved in the last week? Have you generally improved in the last month? That can be an improvement in the way that you're feeling. Maybe you're feeling more relaxed. That can be an improvement in the way you're looking at speaking situations. Might be improvement in the way that you're speaking overall. You're speaking more smoothly. Generally, are you improving? Whenever our clients speak to us and they talk to us about that conversation was really, really bad. Yesterday I had a conversation with someone and it was very bad. I wasn't able to really speak well and stuff like that. But when we asked them that, do you think this conversation is better or was better than when you got started working on your speech with the Pro90D speech system, let's say, or from the time that you started working on your speech? If you had not been working on your speech, would that be the same? And often, in most cases, they say that no, there was some improvement. So, oftentimes, when you're trying to look out for successes, when you're trying to see successes, when you're trying to see if you were able to use your new speaking style, even for the whole part, if you were not able to do it, or for the most part, but at least if you were able to do it for some part and a little bit more than before, so that is a huge thing to focus on. Because if you don't focus on it, then a big problem that occurs is a decrease in your motivation. And a decrease in your motivation, just like I explained, means less work on your speech. And then it just becomes a downward spiral. So, where you are coming from, it's really, really important to focus on that. Yes, Michael.
Now, let's play I hate to use this word, but the devil's advocate. And let's say
Mm-hmm.
that you're experiencing your ups and downs and you've been working, let's say you've been working on this for a while, like for whatever, a year, right? A couple of years or something. And you can't seem to move up to that next level. You just seem to keep having these ups and downs, right? And let's also say that you're still practicing, like you're still attending everything, you're still practicing. And you're like, but then when you get in real life situations, then you feel like it's failing you, it's not working, but you really have been doing everything at least that you know you're supposed to do. So what do we do in those kinds of situations? So it's not that you haven't been putting in the time or that you haven't been doing that. Uh, well, what happens there often has to do with two things that I've found, at least from personal experience. And you were probably about to talk about this, but I really wanted to mention this too. Is one, your expectations, your perceptions, and your experiences. So it's important to talk about those things here because and this is something I learned a long time ago. If you are expecting to perform at a certain level within a certain period of time and you don't, you'll get frustrated and disappointed. And this is where what you were saying about your motivation level starts to go down. Now, again, what if your motivation level is going up and down, but you've still been doing the work? We're not necessarily saying just because your motivation level goes down that you slack off. A lot of people do. But what if you didn't? And it still seems like it's not working. Well, a part of it, believe it or not, has to do with your expectations. In fact, I was talking to Haley, and I think she said that she was going to do a video on this. She said, well, after you told me about expectations, I felt a lot better. I think her belief system kind of even got stronger. And what do we mean by expectations? We're talking about expectations, we're going to talk about perceptions, right? And experience. I'll briefly talk about it. Feel free to jump in if you like have something you really, really need to say right then. Expectations. Some people expect this is going to eliminate, get rid of, cure, heal. Not true in most cases. In some cases, it will, right? It will completely eliminate certain things in certain situations, right? heal, not going to use that word, but there is some truth to that. Um, get rid of, in some cases, you will not experience certain things. It just won't happen anymore. But in most cases, there's still going to be some times, and Farrukh and I'll tell you, there's still times where he and I, if you wanted to be technical, still stutter, or we still block, or we still negatively anticipate, right? Client asked me yesterday, well, when you have something to do, like some kind of workshop or webinar, like, do you ever worry about it? Do you ever negatively anticipate, or do you ever beat up on yourself if you don't perform as well? So I'll answer that one first. If ever I get stuck, I usually laugh it off. I just go, what in the hell just happened there? And I just shake it off and keep going. Like, it really doesn't bother me anymore. If I have something that's coming up, my new pattern of thinking is the Vic and Rick it. How can it's the Vic, like, how can I add value? I can be right. And if it's just something that's social, then I might not think about it at all. But that's a pattern of thinking. What does that have to do with expectations? Well, because I know that there will be times where I still get stuck or don't speak as smoothly, like as smoothly as I would like. There's still going to be times. I expect that to happen from time to time. I don't want it to happen, right? I don't try to make it happen, but it is going to happen. And when it does, it's not a surprise. It doesn't disappoint me. It doesn't discourage me. I just go, okay, why did that happen? Well, maybe so I was tired, or I was worried about something, or whatever. Or maybe there's no reason that I can put my finger on. And so it becomes that bump in the road. It's just, don't even think about it, right? So the less I think about it, because I expect that it's going to happen from time to time. And the more you do this, and the more you believe, and the more experiences you have, the less that happens. When it does happen, it's not a big deal, doesn't bother me. My brain doesn't focus on it, which means my brain doesn't say, oh, this happened and it's probably going to happen again. My brain doesn't do that anymore, really. So that's expectations. Then, real quick, perception. How do you perceive what did happen? So let's say you did get stuck. How do you look at it? Do you say, oh God, I'm slipping back, I'm losing it, it's not working? Or do you go, no, I expect that those things are going to happen. And if there's a reason why that I can put my finger on and maybe improve the next time, then I'll do that. If I can't figure out a reason, then I won't worry about it. So your perception of what happened, how you interpret it, is critical. Then experience. And here's what I told my client. In fact, they said, well, Mirella mentioned this. And then I thought about it deeply. And I said, here's what I would say. And it's not just Mirella, but again, thousands of people have said the same thing. I've experienced the same thing. You have to get out and literally put yourself under as many high pressure speaking experiences as possible. Yes, no, and low pressure, medium, but high pressure. Why? So when you put yourself under high pressure, you're pushing yourself up a notch beyond the normal conversations. It boosts your confidence almost exponentially. And what that does is that has a kind of a cascading effect, and it affects other areas of your speech and your life. So if you're like, if I could do this, if I could do that, well then I can for sure I can do this. So what I did is went out and put myself, I created as many high pressure speaking situations, and that had a ripple cascading effect on my regular conversation. So I'm going to stop there, but I wanted to point those things out because expectation is probably the big one. Perception is probably the next one, but then experience is another big one. Just getting out there and putting yourself under pressure. Oh, one, one other thing. When you go out and you put yourself under pressure and it doesn't work, you don't want to keep doing the same thing, because then you're just reinforcing those negative experiences. So what you have to do is you have to go, okay, I have these tools. It's just like anyone. You give someone tools, even if you show them how to use it, they have to use the tools in a variety of different situations. And once they learn how to use the tools, they become more confident and they perform better. So we're giving you tools. So you go out, you try something, doesn't work. You come back, you have a support community, you have your tools, and you go, why didn't that work? Let me try it again. Sometimes it's just you just have to keep doing it, but sometimes you have to tweak something, tweak the way you get started, tweak how you're breathing, tweak your introductory words. But there's just lots of different things that you can tweak, and then all of a sudden it just works. So having the tools, learning to use the tools and tweak them, sometimes coming up with your own, but learning to use the tools, and then just doing it over and over. My client Nicholas said the first time he went out and he did a Toastmasters, he said he didn't do as well as he would like. But then a few weeks later, he went out and he did better. And then a couple of weeks later, he went out and did so well, they asked him to do it again. They asked him to be a leader. That's just, he was probably doing mostly the same things, but it's just from experiencing that pressure.
Great, Michael. Wonderful. Many points you discussed. Let me talk about a few things. I was also writing down stuff. So the point that you said about the interesting point that you said about getting stuck and how we might also get stuck and it might happen right there in the real world. So for you all, you might not be able to notice it, but for example, Michael, I even haven't spoken to you about this, but I'm sure it happens with you as well. Once in a while, we meet a lot on Zoom and stuff like that. Because now we're so focused on people's speech that sometimes, like once in a while, I can see you, like I know when you're about to like say something differently, which is a subconscious thing, but I do notice it. And I'm sure you can notice it with me as well at times where something is about to happen and then I do something. And it's so subconscious that even we don't notice about it.
Right.
So the expectation about the fact that we won't get stuck, we would eliminate it, we would get rid of it, and stuff like that. Now, if I look at my speech right here, I give so many presentations, like at my university, at my workplace, and people like me because of that. People appreciate me because of that. People talk to me about speaking skills and stuff. I mean, I wouldn't care if I would get stuck once in a while about why I got stuck. Probably they might be getting stuck less than me, but they ask me about speaking skills. They ask me about, oh, you did a great job at this presentation. How can I improve it? Or how I can improve my conversations, or how I can do this, how I can do that. So that's the trajectory that you're going towards. You're going there to become a speaker that can influence other people, going there to become a speaker that you always wanted to become, who is extremely clear, who is extremely impactful, you have value in your speech, and absolutely no one cares if once in a while you get stuck. And one belief I would say, or one thought I would say that helped me change this belief was when I started realizing how much people in their everyday lives, if we use those technical terms like Michael just said, stutter on the news channel, out there in the real world. It happens so much. It's just that those people are not aware of this. And because they don't identify, okay, I got stuck there. So this is stuttering, this is stammering. I stutter, I stammer. And then they think about it more and then they anticipate, oh, is it going to happen again? They
Hmm.
don't do that, but it happens with everyone. So just knowing this thing that how it happens with everyone was a big thing for me to start changing my belief towards, okay, I need to stop getting stuck. And we have discussed it in one of the previous webinars. Many people ask that, how do I know when I'm on the other side? We say that when you stop making getting stuck a big deal, not when getting stuck stops happening. Might still happen from time to time, but because it's not a big deal for you, and here's the interesting point, because it's not a big deal for you, you don't keep worrying about it. And because you don't keep worrying about it, you don't keep anticipating. Because you don't keep anticipating, you get stuck less. So you kind of being okay with getting stuck, you get stuck less because you're less worried about it. Your brain is not having like a magnifying glass on your speech and thinking about every single thing and then, oh, will it happen again? Because the belief that getting stuck is okay has set into our system, we don't just keep seeing it all the time or anticipating all the time. We could think we are doing a webinar as a speech coach. What if we get stuck? What if we start to get stuck? And what if we start to have problems in our speech? And I'm sure if we start to focus on that, we will have problems. But that's not the focus anymore because we know that it's not something which is a big deal at all. And yeah, Michael, would you like to discuss something else before I move on related to this?
No, I think we covered it pretty good because I mean, it's if
Uh-huh.
even if we stop here, this
Mm-hmm.
is pretty significant. So just
Uh-huh.
the expectations
Yeah.
says, "Oh, I'm okay." Uh, now we're not saying it's okay to just go ahead and just keep getting stuck and not try to do anything about it, not try to speak smoother. We're just saying once you expect this is going to happen, and I'm going to be honest, for some of you, you may get to a place in life, depending on who you are, where you are, whatever, where it just goes away. It's just gone. That's wonderful. That's great. For many of us, it'll be with us for the rest of our life. There'll be times where we get stuck. And just like Farrukh said, there are times when I'm aware of it and times when I'm not aware. My brain will automatically adjust and adapt and do certain things just like everyone else does. When someone and they stop and they repeat, what are they? Well, sometimes it's because maybe they don't know what to say, but sometimes just it's just not flowing smooth. They're not smooth speakers. You hear this all the time, and their brain will adjust and it'll repeat, it'll go back, they'll do stuff. That's their brains adjusting for disfluencies, right? They might not be technically stutterers, but they're having disfluencies. What we're teaching you is how to become definitely more fluent, but become an excellent, often an amazing speaker so that if and when you get stuck, you really just say, so what? But I have an asset now. Like I can speak really smoother and better than the average person, which you will find will be true, even though you sometimes don't speak as smoothly as you would like. You get stuck a little bit here and there. But the way you respond to that and your expectations of it and how you perceive it make all the difference in the world. But again, for me, I'll laugh it off. So what? Keep going. Doesn't bother me. Therefore, I just keep focusing on how can I help? How can I make this more valuable? How can I impact? And because I'm focused on that, my speech gets better and better and better. And because I'm not focused on the one little time that I tried to say it this way, but I had the flow over here. So what? Like, so what? I still got it out. And I'll say one other thing. That has actually become an asset. Growing up, when I couldn't say something this way, I had to figure out five other different ways to say it, right? I had to find different words and different ways. Well, as I grew up and became a teacher and a preacher and professor and all that, it became an asset because I could literally look at my audience, and if someone looked confused, I could say it five other different ways, like right on the spot. So you actually develop this ability to communicate things in a wide variety of different ways that other people, I'm not saying they can't do it, because many can, even better than us, but they haven't had to do it. So since we've had to do it, it's become a part of our communication abilities.
Absolutely. So we were just talking about this, and I was letting them know in the virtual speech masters as well that if someone, and I'm sure that happens to you in Spanish as well, and now I find it very interesting for myself that because I'm learning German, and now the fun part is that I have to anticipate, right? Because I have to anticipate words. I need to think about words because I'm not sure about what words I'm going to use. So I was just saying to someone on the virtual speech masters that day, if you would see me speaking in German, you might not think of me as a speech coach because I do get stuck. There are times where I have problems. Like I have to anticipate, Michael. Like we talk about anticipation a lot. Because I don't know the words, I have to think about the words, but I'm not worried about that because I know that once I'm fluent in the language and once I start to flow, that won't be a problem anymore. So it seems small, but this is a huge, huge thing to focus on. And it's a win-win because we are not saying that the more you are okay with getting stuck, it's not that the more it would happen. Actually, it's the other way around. The less it would happen because your brain would actually give less attention to it. I was just reading a research, Michael. I've still not read it fully, and it's a neuroscience research for people who struggle with their speech. And they did a longitudinal study that I also discussed pretty shortly in the Virtual Speech Masters about there's a specific region of the brain which deals with certain emotions. And it is seen that in the people who stutter, although we don't like to use that word, that region of the brain has a more than normal linkage with the regions of the brain involved in speaking. And as the people improve their speech, the connection between that emotional region and the speaking regions started to weaken.
Right.
And my supervisor was just discussing and presenting this, and he is not someone who has stuttered or has any difficulties with speech, but he said this one thing, which I also said in the virtual speech masters, and he was like, it's like if you stop giving a F to whether or not you get stuck, it actually starts to happen less. And it's an fMRI study where it's seen that the linkage between those two regions is start to weaken. But the more you care about getting stuck, the more you're focused on it. What you're just doing is that you're reinforcing the friendship between those regions and it keeps impacting your speech, right? So it's extremely important to shift your focus off of that. In fact, the reason why I joined the system in the first place, I did not join as a coach. So whatever we are saying right here, if we both programmed this, if we both designed the system, then you might say that we have both made this up or something, but it's something that I have tried for myself. I struggled pretty severely with my speech. So Michael helped me get here with my speech first. And then I helped so many people. I got trained from Michael on how to coach people. If it wasn't for a system, obviously it just wouldn't be possible. So whatever I'm saying, especially, it's just not from a person who has designed the system, because for the most part I've not. I've tried it myself. I've used it myself. So I absolutely know where you're coming from. And we have a few more points that we will just discuss on. Yeah.
One thing I want to point out that Mirella said that I think we're doing a little bit of, but we could probably do a lot more. It's just more conversational practice. And so that's something that most people do on a daily basis. So I know that you guys are doing a lot of that in school on the Fridays. And then I know we do some of that also on Saturdays, but just to keep that in mind, conversations, conversations, conversations. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, the next point that I wanted to come on towards is something that also Mirella pointed out that day, which is a pretty good point, and I think everyone should hear that. It should be really, really good. So, two things that she discussed, and that we heard from a few other people as well, that we somehow talked about at the start of this webinar, but will get into a bit more detail. First thing is about using your new speaking style in real life, where people feel like, okay, so when I practice it on my own, it works. I can use the strategies, I can use the skills, I can model, I can do this, I can do that. But when I go into real life in a certain conversation, presentation, meeting, I feel like it's hard for me to implement it right there. First thing. And the second thing that I want to discuss is we have heard many people, especially recently, having discussed about or having points on why slowing down your speech is not something which is a pretty good idea on its own, and all the reasons how it can impact your speech and impact yourself in a negative way to the other person. So let's talk about the second point first, and then we'll jump on to the first point. So, what I've been doing, especially in the last 1 or 2 weeks, now I'm at a stage with my speech where I don't focus on, okay, I need to extend, okay, I need to blend, I need to model. It happens automatically. Why? Because I've practiced it a lot. I've worked on my speech a lot. My brain just knows how to do it. What I did in the last 2, 3 weeks, Michael, and that might also be something interesting for you that I haven't discussed with you. I intentionally try to speak slower than normal at my university and at my work, just to see how the people would react, just to see how it would actually play out. Because I've been hearing this from like 2, 3 weeks and stuff like that, especially
Mhm.
1, 2 weeks. I did it. And funnily enough, or interestingly enough, I didn't hear a single comment from anybody about me slowing my speech down. Either one reason might be that they already have a lot to think about, already have a lot to do, so they did not focus on my speech as such at all. And they also did not care because what I was saying was pretty clear to them. So the ideas that I needed to communicate to them, what I needed to speak to them, the whole purpose, the whole idea of communication is to make sure that you get your ideas to the other person. So it's not like people are having a huge amount of focus onto your speech and thinking that, oh, you're speaking too slow. Oh, that's weird. Something that is not normal. And here I will point to another study that I was reading, which is also a neuroscience study, and that might also be interesting for you, Michael, that it is seen that the brain regions in people who stutter, we don't use that word, but the brain regions which are responsible for managing time, let's say at which time you need to put your right foot and then your left foot while you're walking, when you're eating, it is seen that they are more active in people who struggle with their speech as compared to people who are not. So the time pressure that people often discuss, it's not reality based. Otherwise, the same brain regions, and I will try to make sure that I make more detailed videos on this or send these studies, is those brain regions are more active. So it means that in your brain, you have a greater amount of time pressure compared to the other people. Not because there is, not because you have to say it fast, can be because of habit, it can be something that you have been doing for so long, some other reasons we don't know. But it is to show that the time pressure that you're thinking, if I don't say something right now, I will miss out on this group conversation. People would think that I'm speaking weirdly. I would feel odd. I won't match their pace. I think I need to go fast. And how you think you can change that belief. So Michael can spend weeks and weeks talking about the same thing, but that belief would only start to change once you try this thing and go out there and try it. And then see if someone says something to you. See if it becomes weird. See, is it only in your brain or are people really criticizing you for that? Michael, I'll just come back to you in a minute if that's fine, right? So,
Yeah.
oftentimes people would like that a lot because people won't usually like, for example, right now, I totally respect everybody and respect everybody's speaking and speech, but I enjoy listening to people more when they're very clear. If that person is someone whom I have to ask to repeat again and I can't hear what they have to say, so I don't enjoy the conversation a lot. Not speaking about my clients, of course, but out there in the real world. So people would enjoy your speech more. And so much, so often that we discuss about even the time pressure that you have in your brain, even if we think of it as real, it's a real time pressure. You're basically helping yourself by slowing yourself down. Why? Because you're decreasing the total amount of time in which you say what you need to say. Try to speak fast and see how much time you take. Try to say the same thing slow and see how much time you take. Weirdly enough, when you go slow, you would often be a lot structured, a lot smoother. You won't have to repeat words, you won't have to switch between sentences, and because of that, you will be able to finish saying what you have to say faster. So people enjoy your speech more. You finish off saying what you need to say faster. Like I discussed, even the time pressure that you feel, it's not real. It's a habit that you have developed. It won't change by me letting you know that it's okay. But go out there. It would feel uncomfortable. Try it out. Not just once, not just twice. And then see, is it just a belief that you have, or is it something that really exists? Yes, Michael.
I wanted to give a couple of examples to that. A recent client from Ireland, I believe, and he works with a lot of people from different parts of the world. And he, generally speaking, they tend to speak fast. But this guy, who he admires, actually speaks slow. Um, and he said that he noticed after he got in the program how slow this guy really speaks. But he says the guy's really clear. He enjoys speaking with him. He can see this guy as a potential model, and that everyone understands him. They love the way he speaks. So not only is it that that you can't or shouldn't, or it's not going to be a part of your custom to speak slow, more than likely it'll turn out to be the opposite, that people will enjoy. And I won't say the same things that you said, but I'm going to give an example and then repeat a little bit of what you just said. Many years ago, I had a PhD student he's a PhD now, and he gave a presentation. Some of you have heard me talk about this in the video. And when he tried to do it fast, it took him longer for many of the reasons that you said. When he slowed down, he actually finished the same presentation faster. So you'll hear me say, when you slow your speech down, you'll be more efficient and more effective. Why? Because you don't have the same time pressure, and the big word here is pressure. Put the pressure on, a part of your fight or flight response kicks in. You start your thinking brain, which helps you access the words that you want to use, the knowledge, the information, starts to get cloudy. It almost starts to shut down. And then you can't find the words and you're repeating yourself and you're all over the place, which means you're actually going to take longer. You're not going to be as clear and concise when you put pressure on yourself, right? So you take the pressure off yourself, you can think clearer and speak smoother and be more efficient, because oftentimes you'll use less words. So this is very important. And then the final thing, at least for now, I'll say about speed is that it's a belief. It's a belief. And what Farrukh said is when he went in, he tried it and he found out, oh, no one said anything to me. In fact, people enjoy listening and speaking to me more. You may have a belief because of the people around you, because it's what everyone else is doing, it's what you've been doing. Some people may actually be rushing you. Some people may say, we got 2 minutes, you got to hurry up and get this done. So there may actually from time to time be real-time pressure. But what you have to understand is that if you allow that pressure to pressure you, to affect you, you will probably be less efficient and less effective than if you go, okay, I'm still going to take my time. I'm just going to be as clear and concise as I can, right? So whatever you do, don't let time pressure you. Don't let other people pressure you into speeding up. There's only been one time that I can think about in decades upon decades upon decades that this lady was serving me a drink and there was a lot of people and she said, hurry up. And I literally stopped and said, no, wait, I'm going to take my time. You can come back to me. Right? But this was one time in like 30 or 40 years. So, so most of the time, excuse me, it was funny. Most of the time, people are not going to be like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. But that doesn't mean that there won't be times where you do have to go a little faster. But here's the thing. Once you learn how to speak slowly, you'll be speaking smoother and you'll actually be able to speak more dynamically. So there will be times where you will want and need to speed up and you'll be able to do it smoother than if you allow yourself to stay under this time pressure and you're getting stuck and so forth. Later, Farrukh, I do want to talk about one other thing related to this, and that has to do with flexibility, right? So we'll get into that because that's also an expectation thing and it's very important. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So the point that you discussed about that just one situation in 40 years and no one says, hurry up, hurry up. I know a lot of situations where people used to say to me, slow down, take your time, because oftentimes it was my family because they knew how fast I was speaking. Sometimes it was my friends. So, in fact, I've heard the other thing when I have been working on my speech and when I was doing all of the work. And even the work that you're doing, let it be slowing down, let it be whatever it is, you're slowly moving towards a point where you can speak dynamically, where you can speak fast. Now I can speak fast. I don't have any problems with that. If I want to slow down my speech, I can do that as well. Even let's say even if you don't like slowing your speech down, let's say, just realize that this is a short-term thing that you're doing to develop more control over your speech, which would eventually, in the long run, make you speak fast. Michael, I was just watching the webinar 3, 4 days ago, some 6 years back, and it was my first interaction with you, where
Mm-hmm.
you and Sakshi were there, and I just joined. And I just realized how slow I was speaking. Really, really slow because I was trying to develop that control over my speech. And I would share that in the WhatsApp group as well, in the school group as well. Just remind me if I don't. And the way that I speak now, if I compare this to that was a lot slower. But that
Mm-hmm.
did not mean that I still speak at the same pace. If I want, I can. But now it's more dynamic. And it's not even something that I did intentionally. The
Right,
more in control I felt, the brain
right,
just itself knew that, okay, now you can increase it. It's not
right.
that I had to think about it. Let's make it a bit more fast. Your
Exactly,
brain knows, okay, I'm very comfortable with it. If I want, I can increase it a bit. So then you can
exactly.
increase it a bit. So even the dynamic speaking that we talk about, one, it comes to the latest stages of the speech journey. And second, for many people, it might be something that just happens automatically. For most of the people, I would say, right? Because your brain starts to get more and more comfortable with it. Yes, Michael, you can discuss that point about flexibility. Then I just have one more thing, and then we could,
Yeah. And then I want to introduce
yeah,
something to you guys.
yeah,
It should be pretty cool as long as it works okay. But
yeah,
um,
yeah,
so yeah, just real quick, one thing I guess I've kind of known this, but haven't taught it so much, but I have been teaching it for a little while now to all my latest clients. I mean, just probably within the last couple of years, maybe. And that's the idea of flexibility. When you have more choices, more options, you feel like you have greater flexibility. You actually feel freer and you feel more relaxed and more confident and you can perform better. What does this mean for your speech? Well, someone asked me this specifically. Does this mean that I should continue to switch words and change words and substitute? Well, it's a yes and no answer, believe it or not. It's a yes and no answer. So while you're developing your speech, we do want you to slow your speech down and use your tools to use the words that you want to use, right? But on the other side of this, when you're speaking, you want to get to the place where you're in a flow, where you have a rhythm, where you're literally not seeing words or thinking about words. You're just thinking about the idea, the concept, the message, whatever you're trying to say. So words now are not as important. And so if you feel like if you kind of back yourself into a corner and you go, I got to use this word right now, just like this, you're putting pressure on yourself, and it'd be that much harder for you to say that word as people push that word out. When you say, you know what, I can add a sound, I can add a word to this, and it's perfectly okay. There are times where I can change the order of the words, and there are times when that's perfectly okay. But those are kind of last resorts in a sense. If you're working on your speech, you're doing the modeling, you're doing free flow speaking, which is huge. You're using it free flow. Most I've only seen maybe one person. Everyone that I've ever seen, when they use free flow speaking properly, they can almost always say anything that they want to say smoothly without ever getting stuck. Right now, if you understand this, that once I kind of stop my brain or don't allow my brain to micromanage my speech, to get in there and start anticipating and looking at words and anticipate, but I just say, you know what? Open my mouth, focus on the airflow. I know what I want to say. Let me just keep it flowing. 99.9% of the chance you're going to be able to say what you want. Sometimes you'll add a word, sometimes you'll change a word, sometimes you'll say something. But the idea, and I learned this from Brian Tracy, is if you want to improve on speaking, you have to speak and speak and speak and speak and speak and speak and speak. So you keep speaking, and the more you experience yourself speaking smoothly, the more you will speak smoothly. And sometimes, believe it or not, that will include adding a word, adding a sound, changing a word around, using a different word. And then, and I especially, and you may have had to do this in German, and especially in Spanish. Like if I don't know the word or I know the word, but it won't come out, I'm just not going to stop. I gotta say something. So I'm going to try to use another word or use another set of words. But once I start speaking fluently, then I can come back and use the words that I wanted. But I wouldn't have been able to do that had I not uh, allowed myself to speak fluently, even though I had to change some words and stuff. So make sure that you're hearing me clearly. We're not saying, oh, okay, now just go ahead and switch words, substitute word anytime you want. Like that's your first choice. Your first choice is to use the tools. Use the tools, low pressure and high pressure. But always remember that you have freedom and you have the flexibility that from time to time, if you need to add a sound or a word, if you need to change one, you can do that and come right back, right? To keep that flow going, to experience that flow. And it's a way of thinking, it's a belief, and trust me, it works. It works. So I wanted you guys to hear that so that you don't feel like I got to use these techniques and I got to say the words, the exact words that I'm trying to say. And if I can't, then it's not working. And then what do I do then? You have some flexibility and freedom, right? And it's all about experiencing speaking smoothly. And sometimes, yes, that does include doing those other things, but that's almost like a last resort. It's almost a last resort.
Mhm. Absolutely. And like you said, even that is not something that you have to do all your life. I blended on a lot of words while I was working on my speech that I could just not say. Now I can say them. Why? Because with blending, I said it smoothly so many times that my brain stopped focusing and worrying about that, right? Your brain likes to focus on problems. And when it realizes something is not a problem anymore, so it stops focusing on it. And that's where the anticipation and everything start to go down. So another important thing that I would just like to discuss right here pretty shortly is the point about using it in real life. You practice it by yourself, then, just like Michael said, use it in low pressure, you use it in high pressure, you use it in medium pressure. The personal practices obviously are something that are incredibly important. Let's talk about one or two reasons why it might not be working for someone or why they might think it's not working in the real life. One reason that I see, especially for the people who are working on their own, they try to focus on a lot of stuff at the same time. Okay, I will slow down, I will extend, I will blend, articulate, finish, model, use my hands, right? Facial expressions. They are either trying to do a lot and then their brain just shuts down because you're over exaggerating yourself. Another reason could be that you're not focusing on the right thing that you need to focus on. And the third reason could be you are just immediately applying it in high pressure situations. So when you work on something by yourself, when we speak about proactive speaking, we give a great deal of importance to it because what it's just doing is making real life implementation easy. Proactive speaking is like personal practice in real life. And when you consciously and continuously keep doing that in real life, it's a lot easier to use your new speaking style. Why? Because the primary reason for speaking is not to say something to someone right now. This is a situation that you have made up just for the sake of practice. So, focusing on your new speaking style becomes a lot easier. One thing. And I would suggest, even when you start proactive speaking, try it with people first with whom you are the most comfortable. If you feel like these are the people where I feel like I would feel a bit easier than someone else. For some people, it's people who they don't know. For some people, it's people that they know. Start off with them. Or pick one or two people and start implementing with them. So you're basically developing that real life practice by yourself, where you're feeling easy, where you're feeling okay. Even if you're not feeling okay there, I would just say this to them. Okay, I'm working on my speech. I'm trying to slow things down. So I'm just working on it, right? So this is also something that you can say to make that practice, that real life practice with that person or with those people easier. So practice it by yourself. Then just pick one one person, one conversation at a time, and just focus on one thing that you need. And oftentimes, that one thing is clearly enough in order to activate your whole new speaking style. Some people, like we say, it's breathing. Some people just reminding themselves to slow down. For some people, just reminding themselves to extend. For some people, visualizing, Michael, visualizing your model. Just pick one thing with someone whom you feel like it's the easiest for me to speak with them and proactively go there and practice with them. Then challenge yourself and increase the number of people or do it with someone else. When you start to feel like you're feeling comfortable in low pressure, then just increase the pressure a little and try it there. So you slowly but gradually keep increasing the pressure. Obviously, it's life. You might get faced with situations that are high pressure during this time frame. And right there, if it does not work as well as in low pressure, you don't need to compare a high pressure situation to a low pressure. It's working here, but it's not working there. You're slowly and gradually moving there, right? You're slowly and gradually moving there. Your desensitization to pressure would increase during this time frame. If a high pressure speaking situation happens to happen, it happens obviously. Still try to do your best. Pick one thing to focus on, and you focus on that and you use your new speaking style, but slowly start to increase the pressure. Pick one person, let's say, pick one conversation, be proactive, and then consciously apply it. And the best part about proactive practice is it's easier to use your new speaking style just because of what I just explained. Second, when you keep doing it proactively over and over again, even when it's reactive or when it's not proactive, it's a lot easier for you to use your new speaking style because you have already proactively done that so many times. So let's say you feel under pressure speaking to your boss. Instead of writing emails to your boss where you could, if you decide to go up and speak to him and speak to her and practice doing something, you do it once, you do it twice, you do it thrice. What would happen after you do it 15, 16 times? Even when your boss himself calls you to speak to you, you have already used your new speaking style to whichever extent in those 14, 15 conversations. Do you feel like you would feel the exact same pressure if you had not proactively practiced 14, 15, 16 times? Obviously not. And do you feel like using your new speaking style with your boss, I'm just giving an example, would be easier? I would think, of course, yes, because you have proactively used it. Your mind would be like, I've done it so many times. It was proactive. So basically, trained yourself in the same situation by proactively doing it. If you're just waiting to use your new speaking style in high pressure, if you're just waiting to use your new speaking style in speaking situations that come up to you, you're basically making that using your new speaking style difficult by yourself because your brain needs to first use it in a more relaxed state. A proactive speaking is definitely should be more relaxed than a non-proactive speaking situation. A low pressure should definitely be more relaxed than high pressure. And you slowly keep increasing the pressure. So sportsmen, let's say, they don't just go and start playing on the field. All the practice work they do, if they are developing a new shot, a new skill, or whatever it is, they don't just directly apply it right on the field. They practice it when there's no pressure or less pressure. And then slowly and gradually they start to get there. If you understand what I just said, and Michael, you can add to that, real life implementation would not be hard for you at all.
I'll just add a little bit and briefly answer a question, but then I want to show you guys something actually very briefly because we're going to do a whole nother webinar probably in about 2 weeks on this other thing. But yes, that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what anyone who's really good at anything that they do, they will go out and they'll try to be proactive, do it privately, do it in low pressure, so that you kind of your brain has less pressure, so you can kind of think about and figure it out. Put yourself under pressure as often as I said. One example that you just gave is I would go up to my bosses and supervisors, just not in meetings, but just go up, hey, how's it going? Oh, great. Okay, great. Okay, I'll see you later. Just speaking to them. And once I kept doing that, and they might stop me and talk to me. Well, now my brain is used to talking to them. So now when they're in a meeting, I already know this person. I've already talked to them. It's not a big deal. The pressure comes down. Just keep doing that. Again, keep putting yourself under pressure in conversations. I have lots of conversations now, and that just helps me become more comfortable speaking with different people in different conversational environments. So practice one thing, one person, one conversation, one technique. Um, no pressure, low pressure, high pressure. Got to throw high pressure in there, right? So that when you are faced with high pressure, you're used to it. In fact, high pressure becomes lower pressure. And you'll find that implementing in real life situations. And then don't think that just because, well, I talk to Farrukh or I talk in our school group or I talk, that's not a real life situation. It is like there's people there, there's some pressure there. You're speaking. So tell your brain, if I did it there, I can do it over here, right? It really is. It's your perception. Oh, I did it there, but I can't do it over here. No, I can do it. It's the same me. It's the same tools, right? And your belief says, I can do it here, but I can't do it. No, I can do it there. And I'm going to extrapolate and take from here and do it over there. Very, very important. So I'm going to take oh, another minute to address a question, and then I'm going to show something to you guys, probably 2 minutes. So someone was asking about secondary behaviors. Same thing like with pushing out words and so forth. I just tell people, stop. Like, don't do it. Tell yourself not to do it. Literally. Been doing it for decades. And once you tell yourself, I'm not going to do this, and then you say, well, what do I do instead? You pattern interrupt. If you find that you're going to do this, you're going to slap yourself, whatever it is that you might do. Don't do it. Do something else. What's the something else? That's where all the tools come in, right? So you be more proactive in how you use your body. Use your body proactively as opposed to reactively slapping or doing something. Use your hands more. Use your face more. Use your mouth more. Once you start to substitute, right, you interrupt this pattern and you substitute it with a new pattern. Well, what are the new patterns? All the stuff that we teach you and more. Then you find that you stop doing this, and then you have to tell yourself, I'm like you literally have to make it a rule or law. I'm not going to do this. Will you do it initially more than what you like? Of course. But if you tell yourself, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to try to do something else instead. I've seen people cut out a lot of their secondary behaviors literally within a week or two. A lot of them are gone within a week or two, just by not doing it, interrupt the pattern, do something else. It's all about patterns. So we can talk about this in another webinar because this might be something that people struggle with. But what I wanted to introduce to you guys, I just wanted to take a couple of minutes. And again, this is very, very important because this is where everything is going to one degree or another. And I want to bring something in here. And so you guys have heard me talk about the AI Speech Coach. We've actually built our own, and you can try a live demo, and I'll send you out the link to that because it's a different link than the initial one, but I've already got one open here. And let me know if you guys can hear this. So Farrukh, I can see you, so you can let me know if you can hear once.
Good afternoon, Michael. Welcome to the Pro90D platform. Would you like me to walk you through, or is there something specific you'd like to see first?
Were you able to hear that? Yeah, okay. So can you show me
I'm
the
here whenever
course?
you're ready. Just let me know what you'd like to explore on the platform, or if you want me to keep going with the tour.
Yeah, let's just take a quick look at the course.
You've got 10 modules with 35 lessons total, video plus written content that the AI coach actually references during your sessions to personalize what you're working on. Want to dig into a specific module, or should I walk you through what's in there?
Now, let's just take a quick look at Module 1, Lesson 1.
This is immersion is the secret you have been looking for. It's about how you're not just tweaking technique, you're actually transforming your entire speaking identity from the ground up. Take a look and let me know if you want to see another lesson or move on to something else.
Let's go back up to the top.
Back at the top, what would you like to explore next?
How would we start a session? Briefly.
You pick either Michael or Ava as your coach, answer a couple quick questions about what you want to work on, and then the session starts. The coach adapts to your voice and goals in real time. Want to try one out?
Not right now, but I do have a question. Do you remember from session to session? Or does the coach remember?
Great question. Yes, the AI speech coach has persistent memory across all your sessions. It remembers your speech patterns, the goals you've set, what frameworks you've practiced, what you've struggled with, everything. Each
And,
session builds on the last one rather than starting from zero, so the coaching gets smarter and more personalized the more you use it.
very good. And do we get some kind of report or something after the session is over?
Absolutely. After every session, you get a care report emailed to you and saved in your reports tab. It breaks down communication, articulation, resonance, and energy with scores, specific coach notes, and exactly what to work on next time.
Great. Okay, thank you. We'll talk with you later then.
Very nice. Very interesting.
All right. So I just wanted to show everyone that we've taken it up to a whole nother level. Lots of stuff that you can do. I just wanted to briefly and quickly walk you through some of the things that our speech coach. You only saw two there, Mike and Ava, but we have several when you go to the regular site. So it's not just two, but there's more. There's ways that you can prompt your sessions. You get a whole report afterwards. You get something emailed to you. We also have the video, so the coach can record your video and can give you feedback on some of your physical characteristics and your posture. I'm not sure if we saw that, but we'll show you that later. So what I wanted to do now is just give you a link. You can do the same thing that you were doing with the other one. You can have a 2-day free trial, but you can try this one. You can go through the demo version for free and let me know what you think. Any bugs or anything, let us know. But I even have some of my coaching clients using it. So they'll use it in between our sessions. They'll use it to reinforce our sessions. The AI speech coach is educated with as much of our knowledge as possible. So I've been pouring a lot of the audios and the videos and coaching sessions so he or she will know. So I wanted to share that with you guys. It's a great alternative or a great supplement to one-on-one coaching. All right, Farrukh, anything else you wanted to add?
Nice. No, I just wanted to once again share the link right here and just to let everybody know that all the discussions about the AI speech coach, about the one-on-one coaching, the group coaching that we are doing and everything, it's now we are moving towards school. So still the people who have not joined it, there's a huge part that you would be missing out on. So join that because the WhatsApp group that we have, we'll keep it there. We use Slack for our one-on-one clients, but we'll also shift to something else that we will talk about later. And we are trying to be more responsive in school because we're trying to build a community there, a community where people post, a community where people encourage each other, ask us questions. There's private messaging option right there. And we are trying to build everything right there. The group coaching and the virtual speech masters, they are already there. And then moving further, the one-on-one or the AI speech coach, we are also going to be start moving things in there. About the group coaching and the virtual speech masters, even if you're not already a member, you can come there and try it for 3 free sessions with the group coaching and with the virtual speech masters combinedly. Someone was also talking about in the last session about we speak about in general terms. Obviously, a webinar or a session where we talk about certain things like slowing down, different stuff, it's a general thing. We make it a lot more compact when we are working with someone one-on-one, of course. So the customization part happens in the coaching. Not everybody can afford the coaching. So that's why we introduced the AI speech coach. That's why we introduced the group coaching, where we are still trying to figure out how we do certain stuff with it. I'm enjoying it a lot, and I see that the people are enjoying it a lot. I give one-on-one attention to one person, then move to the other person, then move to the other person, then move to the other person. And I was just discussing with Michael on Sunday and just also letting him know about this that at the start, when I was starting this, I felt like people would just do their one-on-one during the group coaching and go off. But I see that they sit for the entire meeting. So you not only get yourself coached, but you see how other people are being coached, and you can get a lot of things from that. And another question in your brain might arise from what I discussed with them. And then you might ask that. It's very interactive. It's going very good. We are still trying to play around with it. We would try to keep the groups short. We would try to keep the groups short. So if we see that many people start to sign up, I will try and do this more times than once a week, and we will split the group in 4 people or 5 people. We'll see how that works out because I want to make it customized. I want to be able to give one-on-one attention. There have been meetings where I've sat for more than 2 hours with 12 people, 13 people, and it's just a little bit that we have done. So if we are doing something wrong, just let us know. Give us feedback with the AI speech coach, with the group coaching and stuff, school, because we are trying things, right? And that's where we need your feedback, especially in there. All the information, everything that you would get to know in the future, we might shift our webinars in the future to school as well, right? So we'll see how that works out. But join the community and start taking the advantages right now so that you're already there when it's up and running. Even for the group coaching, right now, there are not many people. So take full advantage of that because ultimately the group would start to build up. Even when we started off with the virtual speech masters, there were very less people who were there, but it was also advantageous for them because they got a lot of attention from Michael and myself. And then the group started to increase. So you can take those initial advantages already by already joining things. And even if you don't pay anything, you're still part of that community. You still get to attend 3 sessions. You still see the meeting recordings of every single group coaching session, every single virtual speech masters that we do, and you don't have to pay anything. You still get to contribute, communicate, do everything inside it, right? And we already shifted to the subscriptions for the virtual speech masters and the group coaching. So it's not like I pay something once and then I know that I'm paying for the rest of the year. No, you pay it for this month. If you feel like it's not working, it's not a lot of money, 49 USD, let's say. You just don't pay it next month or from next month. Or if you have a month where you feel like you have to go out and do something and you can't attend, you don't subscribe for that month, right? So it's in your hands now. We are doing all of those things to make things more convenient for you so that it's more convenient and you don't have to think that, oh, I have to pay a lot, right? Yeah,
Right.
just wanted to mention those things.
So a few links that we've put in here. One, some of the links you're going to see are going to be a little new, but you'll still be able to get to us if you go to our main website. So we have a book and assessment. That's if you already know that you want to work with Farrukh and I. Still, that's the fastest way for you to advance. It's just going to be faster. You're going to get individual attention, and it's just going to be the most efficient way. So if you're one and you're a professional, you've got some stuff that's coming up or you've been dealing with this for years, yes, you can still work with us privately. And yes, that still is the fastest way. And so there's a link there for you to book an assessment, and you'll see both of us on there. So that's number one. Number two, I'll be sending out an email with all of these links. We encourage you to join school. Like Farrukh said, it is free. But remember, for this community to keep going and growing, we need support, right? But we're not just asking you for support, we're giving you back something valuable. And I'll tell you what one of my clients said. She said, in fact, it was Haley. She said, life is completely different and better now since I've been working. Imagine being able to say life is completely better, completely different. She's worked with Farrukh, and then she turned around to work with me on some different things. So if you if you have the money or find the money, because if you want to take your life and your speech to the next level, working with us is still going to be the best way. And as long as you do the work, it will be one of the very best investments you ever make. Um, Other than that, we have different options for you to get in and get different kinds of coaching at a lower price point. Some people start there, then go to coaching, or some people start there and that's all they need. But we have options for you. So explore those options. Don't sit back and do anything. Like I've always said, you're going to spend that money someplace. And then you're going to look back a year from now and go, oh, I could have been working with Farrukh. I could have been working with Michael, and my speech could be better, and I could be making a lot more money, right? You've seen people work with us, and within months, get new jobs, get promotions, make more sales. Whatever they paid us already paid off in like that first month. So if you're looking at it like a cost, don't do it. You have to look at it like an investment. You're investing in yourself and you're helping our community because you're helping us help you and thousands and tens of thousands of other people. So keep that in mind too. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Again, we'll get you an email. We'll get you the replay of this out. Great, great sessions, great questions. We're going to do more. Thank you so much. Thank you, Farrukh, for all the work that you've been doing, and we'll see you guys soon.
You guys, take care. Bye.